should be going
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our virtual fair Tuesday night. I wanted to let you all know we are joined tonight with Dale Nowlin and Cinde Wirth, who are both running for state positions. Dale is running for House Representative in Area 59, and Cinde is running for State Senator in District 44. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I wanted to start the night off and just kind of check base with you guys. How are you two doing right now, being at home and all of this? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, we should have picked an order here. Cinde, go ahead.
We could flip a coin.
So yeah, we're doing great at home. It's my husband and I and our dog. So our son is off on his own and living in his van, and our daughter lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So she is sheltering in place as COVID rears its ugly head back in Tulsa again.
And we are doing fine at home, the best you can do. It's the same frustration everybody has. Actually, our daughter and her family are visiting right now from Atlanta, and we have taken extra precautions. It's nice that it's been nice weather, so we've actually had the house opened up instead of closed up with air conditioning, and we spend lots of time out in the backyard, although now they're all in the house and I'm in the backyard now. So I thought, since it's a fair, I should at least try to be outside. But if it gets too noisy, I can move in.
I really like that thinking.
And we have gotten together with our son and his family from Indianapolis. Usually we go up to their house and sit out in the yard, plenty more than 6 feet apart. So we've gotten to see our kids, and our other son is in Cincinnati. We've gotten together with him and done a walk in the woods, but outdoor things. I feel safer with outdoor things, and I love being outdoors anyway. So as long as the weather holds out, we're good.
Exactly. Very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're both, doing well as can be in our current conditions. So I'm really glad to hear that. I thought we would start off letting you both kind of tell us what your 3 main priorities are and what those look like to you. Since Cinde started first the last time, why don't we start with Dale this time?
Okay. So I think some of that in terms of priorities, first of all, it's tough to pick 3, but that's what prioritizing is all about, I guess. Some of that has changed because of the pandemic. One thing that has not changed for me is I think the number 1 priority for Indiana needs to be public education. We have dropped the ball on that for too many years, as the data shows. And I think there's going to be pushback to not do enough because of the budget issue with COVID-19. And I think that's a fight that we need to send people to Indianapolis that are willing to have that fight. So that'd be my number 1 priority. My number 2 priority really revolves around the budget as well. One thing this pandemic has shown us is that there are some people that are more vulnerable to the pandemic than others for various reasons. Healthcare issues, they have jobs where they can't stay home and do their jobs from home. As we build the budget, we need to keep those people in mind, and too often those are the forgotten people because they don't tend to have as strong a voice. So I think as we build the next budget, we need to think about our more vulnerable population and how we treat them, and not just the people in power.
I like that. Go ahead, Cinde.
Those are great points, Dale. I would have to agree with all of those. So, I was educated in our public schools here in Columbus, and I taught in our public schools, and education is my top priority. All schools are hurting, particularly our rural schools in Southern Indiana are hurting. And I've talked to some superintendents, and they tell me that no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try or how creative they get, they keep losing funding every year. And so they are scrambling to figure this out. With COVID and all the extra expenses they're going to be incurring trying to reopen the schools, that is still an issue, even though there were monies available. It's still requiring them to get very creative to even think about opening our public schools. So that's probably my top priority. Another one is our air quality. So in Indiana, we rank 42nd in air quality. And what we see with the pandemic and COVID-19 is the implications of all of this air quality on our Hoosier health, especially lung problems that are exacerbated by our low quality of air in Indiana. So this past spring, we passed the third bill in 6 years that puts roadblocks in for eliminating our dependence on fossil fuels for energy generation. And I think that's another one of my top priorities that kind of bundles a couple things in one. And then looking at ways that we can make healthcare more affordable for Hoosiers. So with GoFundMe being a third of the money that's raised on GoFundMe is for healthcare issues. And in the United States, that's unacceptable today. So that's another area where I think we really need some good advocacy that encompasses all people, that's not dependent on employment situation for healthcare.
So I know both of you are, education is a very big topic for both of you, very important priority. What three things would you do in the state legislature that would improve our public education? And Cindy, do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. So as I said, education is one of my top priorities. So there's a lot of things that I think are important. I hold fast to what the Indiana State Teachers Association says are priorities, because they are the voice of the teacher in Indiana. And that starts with paying teachers as professionals. I went into teaching right as the salary schedules changed for teaching. So I am one of those teachers who went in at the levels that were at non-professional pay levels, and didn't rise out of that even in the 10 years I was there. So paying teachers as professionals is key. The 2015-2016 data shows that 50% of teachers have a degree at the master's level or above. Pay for teachers does not reflect their career expertise. And this is unfortunate, because we're training our next generation of doctors and lawyers and scientists and workers and people taking care of our children and our grandchildren. And it's really unfortunate that we don't value that. I think the second part of that is restore our funding formulas for our public schools. When funding is restored to a level at which the schools can do the things they need and take care of what they need to take care of, then our public schools are the best in the world. When we cut our funding, we're really doing ourselves a disservice and making it very difficult for schools to do all of the services that they really need to provide for students and good education. The other thing that I agree with the ISTA on, which they recommend to hold schools and teachers harmless for the standardized teaching or standardized testing, student testing for teacher, teacher evaluation. And in this realm, you really can't use a tool that's designed for students, and student assessment it's a tool to be used by teachers to guide their instruction. So when you're using that to evaluate teachers, it's not really using the tool for which it was intended. So I think putting that focus back on assessment, that assessment is a tool for teachers and not for evaluation, I think is great. So those are my top three.
What about you?
So I think I have the same list, but I said it slightly differently. So number one, I would say, is teacher salaries. We are still suffering from a huge teacher shortage, and the reason is teacher salaries. One of the things I do in my job is hire teachers, and there have been a couple years in the past few years that we have had 0 certified applicants apply. And that's at a small city suburban school. It's even harder if you're talking about urban schools or the rural schools that Cindy was talking about. So teacher salaries, that goes along with general funding of public education the way it needs to be funded, but teacher salaries definitely. Another thing is Right now, we give $0. $0 are targeted for professional development in this state. And sometimes I try to imagine, what if an industry spent no money on keeping their workforce up to date on the latest things to come out? So do teachers do professional development? Yes. They give up their lunch, and they do it during their so-called duty-free lunch is when we do professional development. So if we really want to improve schools, that's someplace that the state could invest some dollars. We used to get money for that from the federal government, and that dried up and disappeared a long time ago. Another thing, Cinde mentioned the special troubles that rural schools have. I think we need some kind of incentive program to get new teachers, especially, to take jobs at high risk, high need schools, whether that's inner city schools or rural schools. When you compare national data, one of the things that the United States and Indiana in particular does much worse than other countries around the nation. We don't focus where our greatest needs are. And we're pouring all kinds of money. And actually Cinde talked about the funding formula. That's a huge part of that. We're pouring all kinds of money into suburban districts, which definitely need the money, but we're not targeting the highest need districts. And we need to start doing that to really impact improvement. And the fourth thing I have on my list is exactly what Cinde had on hers, testing. She mentioned holding harmless. We really need a testing program. Right now, we are spending hundreds of millions of tax dollars on a test that doesn't inform students, doesn't inform parents, doesn't give teachers information that can really impact their instruction, and really is not a fair measurement of how teachers and schools are doing in terms of evaluation. I mean, it misses the mark on every single indicator, and we're spending hundreds of millions of tax dollars on that and nothing on professional development. Statisticians sometimes talk about, in their technical term, it goes something like, the cow doesn't gain weight by just weighing the cow. And that's kind of what we're doing. We keep measuring kids and teachers in schools, but if we're not going to invest in improvements and looking at other ways to actually assess that's useful, then we're just pouring money into big testing corporations.
Well said.
And we could both talk about this like the whole time, but
True. And, you know, I wouldn't mind that myself. So, but we do have a few other
that's okay.
topics. Kind of sticking along the lines of COVID. During our primary election, absentee ballots were opened up, and you didn't have to have a reason to apply for one. You could, you know, just vote absentee for no reason at all. It doesn't seem like they're leaning towards that for November. What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that we should have open absentee voting? And we'll go Dale first. Sorry.
Yeah, to me, that's a no-brainer. I can't quite figure out why we haven't done something about that. It's for one thing, it encourages more people to vote. I am sure that there are people who won't go to the polling centers to vote because of fear of COVID-19, and I can't blame them. I think they may end up doing that sometime down the road, saying they can just be a mail-in ballot with no reason. Right now, going back to the old absentee ballot is just an extra hindrance for people in this situation. The other thing is they need to do it soon enough so that county clerks can get prepared for it. They need to do it, but if they wait until a month or 6 weeks before the election and then expect county clerks to scramble, then we're putting ourselves in a bad situation.
Yeah, I would echo everything that Dale said. You know, like the rest of our nation, Indiana's not out of the woods with COVID-19. And by November, we probably still will not be if we keep going the way we're going. We're finding out that opening up too quickly or putting expectations on people to do things has devastating effects. So I think the safer we can keep Hoosiers by eliminating crowded polling places and giving them options for voting, the safer that we'll all be and the healthier we'll all be. Plus, it's not uncommon to do this, but I really like Dale's comments about making sure that making sure the decisions are made quick enough that the county clerks have adequate time to prepare. And we saw that this spring in the primary elections where our Bartholomew County clerk was amazing, one of the best in the state. And talking to people all over the state, we are so fortunate here in Bartholomew County that we have one of the best clerks. Not every county is like that, and not every county has the staff available to implement that so quickly and so effortlessly. So I think that's a great point that Dale made, that we need to make this decision quickly and get it going so people can prepare for it.
And something that I just saw an article today that is happening right now in our state house is Greg Walker is writing and trying to pass a bill about voter fraud, trying to control voter fraud. It seems to be a very big concern. How do you guys feel? Do you think that voter fraud is something that we should really be concerned with? And perhaps, maybe we should think twice about opening up vote by mail because of that? Or do you think that there's a way to kind of make sure that we don't have that issue? And we'll let Cinde go first on that.
I don't have any concerns at all with voter fraud by mail. Voting by mail has been implemented very successfully for several years by 5 other states. Colorado, Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, and Utah all use vote by mail very successfully. We can look at the ways that they have implemented that across their states and use that as a role model for our vote by mail process. The other reason I don't really have concerns about voter fraud that way is when I was a fellow in the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress, I went to a briefing on election security and election fraud. And right there in the conference room, they had us vote, and we voted one way. And then they showed us what our vote was reported as on a voting machine. And they were all not correct. So there's very simple ways that a couple lines of code can be written and inserted into voting machines that can be detrimental to election security. And I think most places know about this now. It's not a secret. So I think the vote by mail could actually even be a safer way to ensure that your vote is what you intend it to be.
Yeah, I would echo that. Vote by mail certainly ensures that every district, every county, there's a paper trail for the person that voted that way. I personally think the whole voter fraud thing doesn't fit with the data that we've seen, whether it's mail-in ballots or voter fraud in general. It seems to be a big rallying cry about voter fraud. Most of the results I see from that rallying cry are things that make it harder for people to vote. And I think we should constantly be looking for ways to make it easier for people to vote so that we get more people voting. One concern, I think a concern that people ought to be thinking about with the mail-in ballots is if ballots don't get there on time. I know this would take some of the excitement out of election day, but I would like them to look into the possibility of, instead of having to be received in the county clerk's office, if they had to be postmarked by a certain date, and then if it's the post office's fault that it comes there later, still count the vote. It would not make a difference in very many elections, although we had a city council election where it might have made a difference. But people need to know that their votes count, and mail-in ballot is a valid way to do that.
Very good, very good. Another topic which I know Cinde touched on as well is the environment. We know that right now, like she said, COVID is affecting, those who are in areas that are highly polluted, that are already seeing people who have asthma and such. So when you are in the State House, what changes do you think that you would do, and how would you address our environmental issues with Indiana being kind of last, actually, in as far as being clean? Dale, do you want to go first?
Yes. So Cindy brought up a great point when she talked about the environment and air quality in the opening question. And often this is overlooked. In Indiana, we try too often. Our reputation is that we ignore the environment so that we can bring in good business and make lots of money as a state. But what she brought up is we often ignore how much bad environment costs us in medical costs. So there are hidden costs besides the fact that we're leaving our planet in worse shape for our children and their children. There's the fact that we're hurting ourselves because bad environment means higher medical costs, and too often it's higher medical costs for the people who can least afford it because of where they live and where the factories are and where the air quality is the worst, and water quality the same way. We have been shameful as a state in terms of how we've taken care of our environment. We constantly look at the environment and the economy as opposing forces, and we need to stop doing that. We need to look at how our work with the environment can actually stimulate and help the economy and help the quality of life for Hoosiers. Sounds so simple. I don't know.
It should be.
It really should be. I do agree with that. Yes, I think overturning some of the roadblocks that we put in place for developing clean energy is key to getting things done. And that means divesting ourselves of investments in fossil fuel industry. And, if you're personally invested in a fossil fuel industry, then it's really tough to make a vote against that industry when it's going to affect your own pocketbook. So I think that's key in all of our legislators to personally divest themselves from fossil fuel investments. And I think that will actually help make our transition smoother. But, with COVID-19 and all of the problems with it, one of the things that's come out of it is we have an unprecedented opportunity to embrace new technologies and job creation and job growth in the clean energy sector. In this way, we can help support working parents. We can recognize the value of those unpaid caregiver roles, and we can restructure our economy around green energy and new jobs and new economic development, and decide that every worker is worth a living wage in a healthy environment. So I think those are some opportunities that are good that could come out of all of this chaos that we're living through if we focus ourselves in the right direction.
I like that very much. So we do have a little bit of time left before we close, probably about 10 minutes. I wanted to give each of you a chance to kind of share in a closing statement, maybe another thought that you had or that you would like to convey to people during right now. I just wanted to kind of open that up and give you the opportunity to kind of speak freely. Cindy, do you want to go first on this one?
So I know an issue that we're all thinking about right now, back on education, is the reopening of schools in a safe manner according to the CDC guidelines. I've heard from a lot of parents. I've heard from grandparents. People are unsure of what is the right thing to do, what is the good thing to do, and it is very situationally dependent on each family's situation. So I think as we look forward and we start to really understand what our local school corporations, and I'm covering 5 counties now, so I have a mix of school corporations. When we look at their decisions to reopen, we really need to take a step back and decide, are we really truly ready for a safe return for students? Do we have everything that we need? The State Superintendent of Public Instruction put out a comment the other day about the supply chain issue, that we're not really paying attention to the supply chain issue right now. We have healthcare workers who don't have PPE and who are reusing it again 4 months later. This is not looking good to reopen schools if our healthcare workers don't have enough PPE. So we need to figure in things like supply chain, not just for PPE, but for tech devices, for internet access devices, all of those things. Right now, we have gross failure at the federal level in consistency and duty of care that comes down the chain to our local corporations. And teachers are basically being told to figure it out once again, and figure it out without adequate compensation or adequate care. And this is coming from the federal level, that their health is safeguarded also. So, we have to think about custodians and their families at home, our staff, their families at home. So those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about right now and having discussions with people about. And I just think we need to take a step back and really look at the entire situation as we do like a living organism, because nothing happens without affecting something else. So that's all I have.
So this isn't, let me, before I start my closing statement, piggyback on what Cindy just said. If anyone didn't have a chance to see any of the interviews of the federal Secretary of Education over the weekend, they would be worth searching and listening to those, and you would see exactly what she's talking about in terms of there is no strong guidance or concern about safety for students or teachers and going back to school. I was thinking, actually, I'm thinking of all the questions you had on our list that we didn't get to, and I would like to connect with one of those and how it impacts our current situation with COVID-19. And that was, I don't remember the exact question, but it was about right to work laws, which I think are a huge misnomer because they're really not about right to work. For many years, closed shops have been illegal for many years. So you couldn't get a job and not join the union. What that meant was that you still had to pay the union costs because you still got, even if you didn't join the union, you got all of the union benefits. But the whole purpose of right to work, well, I think two purposes. One was intended or unintended, it keeps wages down. But the number one purpose was to weaken unions. And I think about that with this pandemic, because in terms of, start with teachers. It's the teachers' unions that sometimes are the voice of reason in terms of, can we do this safely and what's this going to look like, not just for the teachers, but for the students and for the students' parents and grandparents and other unions too. I think about the issues we've had in meatpacking plants. And if they had stronger unions in those meatpacking plants, workers could be safe. So unions, I come from a union background, so I'm biased, but unions provide not just good wages, but they provide safety for their workers. And we're missing some of that in this COVID-19 battle. And we're putting workers in positions that aren't safe. And I blame at least part of that on things like the right to work laws.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you there when there's no one there to stand up and say the employee shouldn't be treated this way. And, you can't let them go because they have COVID, there's no one there to protect them. It's terrible. Well, I want to thank you both for joining tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And I hope that you both take care and stay well, stay healthy, keep safe.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for doing this. I know this took lots of time on your part. The only two things I can think of are missing are, well, I can think of several. The music, actually getting to talk to people as they walk by the tent. And now that we're done, I want to go to one of those food booths and get some good food. But
oh, I know.
I'll go to my kitchen and get food.
Yes.
But thank you.
Oh, hey,
yeah,
thank you both.
Michelle. And I just want to remind everybody to mask up.
Wear your mask.
That's right. Wait, I got it here.
All right. Thank you all very much for hanging with us there. please continue to stay with us as we will now listen to local musician Zoe Tucker sing some of her original songs. If we wouldn't look up, my computer is freezing. Hold on just a sec. And we should be good. No?
So, I'm going to start trying to get some music uploaded, just so that I have something to kind of show people. Like, you can go to my YouTube and look at this, blah, blah, blah. So, right now it's going to be kind of low quality videos recording on my phone. But in the future, I will have music probably recorded on a camera if I can get one. But yeah. So I'm just going to start with a classic song that I wrote probably 2 years ago at this point, but it's called the Shroom Song. So here we go. She knew that I was lying 'cause she handed me a bag of stems. And my neighbors asked me, honey, are you okay? I said I'm on top of the world today. And my boyfriend said to me, you're acting a little bit crazy. I said I'm on top of the world today. I took a bite of them and my world wouldn't stop spinning, but my eyes now were looking up. So I guess that girl was right, 'cause I started feeling right then. Now I'm on top of the world today. My neighbors asked me, honey, are you okay? I said I'm on top of the world today. And my girlfriend said to me, you're acting a little bit crazy. I said I'm on top of the world today. Oh, I am on top of the world. I took a munchie from a strange young girl. Oh, I am on top of the world today. I am on top of the world. I took a munchie from a strange young girl. Oh, I am on top of the world today. Before I met this girl, my world just wasn't cured, but now I can finally feel alive. So now I walk around singing this song all over town, 'cause I just really don't give up. 'Cause I am on top of the world. I took a munchie from a strange young girl. Well, I am on top of the world today. I am on top of the world. I took a munchie from a strange young girl. Well, I am on top of the world today. time and rings. I thought that love had said goodbye and gone. I thought I'd never write another song. What's it gonna take for me to find peace and love in a big old hateful world? What's it gonna take for me to find grace and joy inside this little girl? What's it gonna take for me to finally let go? What's it gonna take to get everyone to know? What's it gonna take for me to find peace and love in a big old hateful world? What's it gonna take for me to find grace and joy inside this little girl? What's it gonna take for me to finally let go? What's it gonna take to get everyone to know? Right when I thought I lost everything, my life lit up like blue in diamond rings. I thought that love had said goodbye and gone. I thought I'd never write another song. Alright, hey. So I'm still a little sick, so I'm sorry if my voice isn't 100%, but this song is called And Now I'm. I told him if we were to work, he'd have to grow a spurt and carry me back home, or take a step back and get a jetpack, never come back, just leave me here alone. I expected him to say I love you. Oh baby, I need you. Instead he walked out the door, and he left me standing on my front doorstep, speechless and alone. And now I brought a Christian man back home. Mom asked him how much I owed. He said $50 and a cup of Joe. I knew I wouldn't move for a second, but I thought I'd try it and see where it goes. But he left the table with some cash in his pocket and a head full of knowledge of how messed up I may be. And it left me standing on my front doorstep again, speechless and alone. And now I'm crying pathetically. Oh, how ironic can this be? A happy and lonely pretty girl. And now I'm crying pathetically. Oh, how ironic can this be? A happy and lonely pretty girl. I told myself to be okay, had to run away and leave this all behind. But then I ran into a tree, life's way of telling me that running is for the blind. And it left me standing Don't tell me to try.
Thank you, Zoe, very much for that. Those were beautiful. All right, so now we have our drawing for the Book Lovers Basket. I know there were many who were very excited about this. Having a partner off screen draw for me. Here. And it is Tyler Nolting. Tyler Nolting, you have won the Book Lovers Contest basket. Yay! All right, so tomorrow night is our kids' night, and we are drawing for kids' baskets tomorrow. And we have two baskets. One is kind of a beach theme basket, and the other one is a like a kids basket with toys and such. For these baskets, we are asking that kids participate in the drawing. What that will look like is kids are our biggest dreamers, and we are asking them to tell us what they think the American dream looks like. So they can draw a picture, they can take a picture, they can write a poem, they can write a story, a song, anything like that, just expressing what they think the American dream means. And if that could be submitted in picture form, video form, to our comments on the drawing, that would be great. Videos may not be able to be posted to a post, so if you post it on your Facebook, just tag our party in it, and we will see them, and we'll add the kids' names into the baskets. And please, when you do submit their work, let me know which basket you would like your name put in for, and then we'll draw from there. Just as a reminder, we also have week-long running contests that are still going on. You'll find them in our event pages. We have the baby matchup contest, where you are looking at fellow Democrats in the area, candidates, and a couple of famous ones in there, where you're going to match their baby picture with the adult picture. Those you'll want to basically make a sheet of 1 through 24, and then just pick the letter for the matching baby and place it with the correct number, and just submit those into our DMs. And then whoever has the most correct answer, the top 3, wins a Visa gift card. We do still have the 2020 virtual vegetable garden contest going. That all the posts are up. So if you look under 2020 virtual garden contest, all the gardens should be under that hashtag. And just please like or love the gardens that you favor the most. And whichever one has the most likes and loves at the ends of the week will win Visa gift cards as well. And we do have a drawing for some Proud Democrat glasses. You can win a set of 4 simply by making a donation. There is a link within the event page that when you click on that, any $20 donation you make puts your name in that drawing. So if you donate $80, your name gets put in 4 times, and we have 6 sets of glasses to give away. So you have 6 opportunities to win just right off the bat by putting your name in once. So please consider donating to that and receive a set of glasses for yourself. And I think that is all of our contests we have going. So please keep an eye out for those. Participate. We would love to see you in there. And if you have any questions on any of them, don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for. So please, everyone, take care, stay safe, and be well. And as we said at the beginning, don't forget to wear your mask. Take care. Thank you.